In today's video, we're going to be looking at Lunar Tides in the color True Lust. So I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. I'll be doing like close-ups and pictures near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. 1 is green, red and green are across from each other on the color wheel, so I wanted to see if the red could cover the green or at least neutralize it. 2 is gray, 3 is a natural red, 4 is black, and then from 4 to 11 we have a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then number 12 is like a toned version of number 11. Also, these are human hair swatches, but they are not all virgin hair. The only one that is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically dyed or bleached at some point in their existence. So to start, I'll take the dye directly from the container and I'll put it at the top of each swatch. And then some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I'll be putting a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind, everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take dye differently. Also, something else to keep in mind is that monitors will make colors look different, especially with colors like red. It can definitely change the undertone, so that could also be another contributing factor as to why it looks different in real life for you versus how you saw it in my video. For the diluted section, we're going to be doing a 4-to-1 ratio, so that will be 4 parts of diluter to 1 part dye. If you're not sure what diluter is, the simple, easy answer is that it essentially lightens the color of the dye. And if you're wondering, I just use a plain white conditioner for diluting. So I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I'll meet you back here and we can do some comparisons. This is another pretty pigmented red, so I can see a slight difference on the number 5 swatch. Now, it's probably not super apparent, but it does change the undertone. It still looks like dark brown, but it does look kind of reddish as well. I would say you can actually really start to see it on number 7, but you can see it on number 6 as well. Again, it's kind of more like a brown with a red undertone on number 6. And then I think it looks pretty good on 8 through 12. 7 looks good too, it just doesn't look quite as red. The number 1 swatch was green, and that one surprised me a lot because even the diluted section looks red. Now it obviously, in comparison, you can see it looks closer to a natural red over the green, but you can't see any green through it. The number 2 swatch, as usual, pulls slightly more cool toned. And then the number 3 swatch, which was the natural red before, it kind of looks similar to like 6 or 7. It's still got that like natural kind of look to it, but more red basically. And even the diluted section did a pretty good job. I feel like 11 and 12 are probably the most intentional looking because they're very bright. I still think it looks pretty good on 8 through 10 as well. I think it just looks slightly more pinky almost. Like if somebody's whole head was the diluted color for 9 and 10, I would almost look at it as like a darker pink. And with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that this dye is a pinky red. I actually think this is a pretty true red, because I looked at it compared to some of my orangey reds and pinky reds, and it kind of looks like a mix between the two. So to me that means it's a true red, which is great. Makes sense, considering the name is True Lust. I feel like that was their way of saying true red. But we might as well go into comparisons, since I said something about comparing. So I thought we would start with the more pinky red. So this will be Arctic Fox in the color Wrath. This will be comparable to number 12, 11, 10, and 9. So I've noticed that my cameras tend to have a hard time picking up undertones in reds, like the differences. I might have to explain it a little more than you can actually see. So I would say the direct eye portion looks the least different, but there is still a difference, especially on the Platinum Blonde swatch. You can really see the slightly more pink leaning, and it makes the True Lust look like it's slightly more orange leaning. But when we compare this to a more orangey red, we'll see that it actually then will look more pink leaning. And then as we dilute Wrath, you can really see the pinky undertones coming through, which again makes the True Lust look almost orangey in comparison. And I did get asked one time what red is most like the Little Mermaid hair color, and I would say Wrath is probably a lot more close to that kind of red color. Or if we're putting other brands into the mix, I think the True Lust might be okay as well, just because it's closer to a true red. But I don't think the Poison from Arctic Fox is quite that Little Mermaid red. And I know I said this in my last week's video, but I also am curious if anyone has had experiences with their hair fading and if it looks anything like my diluted sections. Because the Wrath does look pretty pinky. Like if you were to keep diluting it, it would definitely be a pink. Whereas the True Lust looks closer to like a peachy pink. The other comparison I wanted to do today was Good Day Young in the color Rock Lobster. So this will be comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So I don't remember what I said in my Rock Lobster video. I'm hoping I didn't say that it was a true red, because now compared to this, it does look slightly more orangey. And I think if I did say it was a true red, it's because it looks less orangey than Arctic Fox Poison. Arctic Fox Poison does look pretty orange, for a red I mean, in comparison. But now that I have True Lust, I do feel like the True Lust is a little bit closer to a true red, but again, on the direct eye portion, it's a lot harder to tell, and it's a lot easier to tell on the diluted section, because especially on the Platinum Blonde swatch, it looks, if you keep diluting it, it looks like it would be almost like a orangey color, whereas like I said with the True Lust, it looks like it'd be closer to a peachy pink. But as far as the other dyes that I've done, I feel like for the direct dye portion, Rock Lobster would be the closest in comparison, but not quite the same. So now I'd like to get into the before and after clips. Those and everything else near the end of the video will be filmed in natural lighting, and I'm sure, as you may know, recreating the exact same environment with natural lighting can be a little difficult, so if anything looks slightly different, that is probably why. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do dyes that do not test on animals. Thank you to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.